So to whoever's watching right now, welcome everyone. This is gonna be my first episode, so you're actually my first person.
Oh, cool.
Coming, so congrats on that. This is kind of like it's not a podcast, but it's also not a Zoom. It's a Zoomcast. I decided that all this time I've been trying to start a podcast. I like talking to people and sharing experiences. So we'll see how this goes. And if people like it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And pretty much this whole month, what I'm really trying to focus on is just sharing the UCLA experiences. So freshmen. So I don't know how to call it, but I ultimately want to share I want to share our struggles, so it doesn't have to be their struggles when they come in. So yeah. All right. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm kind of nervous. I'm not gonna lie, because I've never done something like this before. Yeah, today's guest is Adah. She's a third year public affairs major. So I'll let her quickly introduce herself. Tell us anything about yourself and what year are you and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you pretty much summed that up. But yeah, you can call me Adah or Adah, either or. Public affairs major, no minor. Took me a while to realize that it's okay not to have a minor. And a little bit about myself, third year. My hometown is Long Beach, California. So SoCal has been my entire life. And yeah, I'm the oldest of three, first gen. Yeah.
All right. So let's start it off. Can you describe to me like what your major is in one sentence? If you had to describe a freshman, what your major is, what public affairs is, how do you describe your major?
Yeah. So public affairs is a very, very new major, and by very new, I mean I'm going to be the first graduating class with that major. So again, first gen, and then first person to graduate that class. So a lot of firsts for me and for UCLA. But public affairs is pretty much sociology, economics, like poli sci, um, all these things all into one, and so much more. So public affairs is the first undergraduate major with the graduate level of the Luskin School of Public Affairs. So for I think about 50 years, um, don't quote me on that. I think 50 years. I'm not
Quarter on
sure.
this, quarter on this.
25. Sorry, it's 25. I meant 25. For 25 years, um, the Luskin School of Public Affairs has their graduate program, which is social welfare, urban planning, and public policy. And about a year ago, they wanted to have an undergrad kind of feel for those grad level topics. So kind of an intro into grad school. So yeah, so you get a lot of social welfare, a lot of public policy, urban planning. Public policy kind of speaks for itself with like working with policy and studying how policy affects different communities, etc. Social welfare. You hear social workers. I mean, it's not entirely that, but it has a lot to do with working with people and working with communities. And urban planning is more of like spatial. So like the way that cities are constructed, certain areas. So a lot to do with like gentrification, kind of addressing issues like that. Obviously, I'm overgeneralizing all
It's
of
all
this.
right, you know. All yours. The floor is yours.
Yeah, but public affairs is meant to take little bits and pieces of those graduate level focuses and apply it to undergrads. So yeah, so as an undergrad, you get a little taste of everything. You get professors who are teaching at graduate level of social welfare, teaching graduate level public policy and urban planning. Yeah, so if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for sharing that. Was this like the major that you initially came in with? Like you got accepted to UCLA with this major and you were like, yes, this is what I want to do? Or how was like this? Can you describe your process on like how you chose this major and stuff like? Because I'm sure people want to know. Like I want to know. Like
No, yeah, for sure. So no, this is so way back when in 2017. recently graduating or senior, yeah, being accepted to UCLA, I actually got accepted into UCLA as a biz econ. So back then, I thought that I wanted to open my own business. I always wanted to work with my community. Being in North Long Beach, specifically North Long Beach, which is pretty much Black and Brown folk, and about more than 50% Spanish speaking. I always knew that I wanted to come back, but I thought it would be in a business standpoint, in like creating a space where really anyone and everyone can feel comfortable, like a little hangout place. And I thought I could achieve that with biz econ, and then coming into UCLA having my freshman year and taking econ classes, I realized this is not what I want to do. Biz econ has a lot to do with like financing and like big bank companies and a lot of people who are like want to be stockbrokers or accountants, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's not me. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a stockbroker. I don't want to be an accountant. Which is not anything wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That's just not what I
Yeah.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
Um, so it was fall quarter last year, so my sophomore year, that I was almost failing an econ class, my last econ prereq, and a professor was like, you don't have to do econ. There's a lot of other majors there. And yeah, I had a existential crisis. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life because I thought I had everything set. And I'm literally eating with my roommates at a dining hall, and there's this little like pamphlet that they have on the tables, and they have like announcements or like events coming up that you should check out. And then one of them was saying that you should check out, like, if you want to be a community leader, involved, like, interested in civic engagement, and want to create change, check out this major. And literally, my roommates are like, that's you. That's what you should do. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't think that's what I want to do. And come winter quarter, the first week, Monday, I went to the public affairs counselor, talked to them for 10 minutes, and yeah, I was like, okay, I'll switch. It was their second quarter that they had any public affairs classes. They literally hadn't even created the syllabus yet. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, I'll be your guinea pig. We don't call ourselves guinea pigs. We call ourselves trailblazers. So you might hear me throw that term out. But yeah,
Yeah.
since then, like, I made the switch. I love it. I like how new it is. One, because my voice is heard, my voice is valued. Anytime they have anything, they like almost every week I get a survey of like, how do you think the class is going? How can we improve the class? Which really, in any other class I've taken, they never consider that. They never considered my needs, or if someone else who's like me, who has the same struggles as me, like, I get very nervous in tests, but when I say, hey, I prefer papers more, and could I get a paper instead, they're super flexible in that. That's probably because, again, I'm one of the first people,
Hmm.
but yeah,
How big
that's,
is like your major? Like, how many people are in your major?
yeah. So juniors graduating about 70,
Okay.
70. So it's not like, compared to other majors, it's definitely small, but we're big. Like, we all know each other, and I think that's the good thing about our major. That sense of community that you don't really get in other majors, or at least I didn't get in econ. Yeah, like, we have a group me. We are always trying to like talk to the sophomores, the freshmen, especially any incoming freshmen. We have people who are NSAs. I applied to be an NSA. I got waitlisted, which
Uh,
is fine, but yeah, like, I it's always about giving back to like the other classes. So actually this Friday, so tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow we're having like a luncheon for anyone who got accepted
oh
um
no.
for public affairs. Obviously it's not meeting in person. We're gonna do like a Zoom meeting. But literally, if anyone has any questions, like, about what it means to be a UCLA student or a public affairs student, um, yeah, they can ask me or ask some other classmates, and yeah, so yeah. pretty much it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you spoke a little bit about how you didn't feel like a sense of community in your major biz econ. Why do you think that was? Like, what are some factors that led you to not feel that? Is it because of that class sizes, or because the professors, or like what do you think led for you to feel like that, and how is it different in public affairs?
Yeah. So I obviously, just from the get go, my experience isn't the same as everyone else's. I would say a lot of it had to do with being unable to just navigate UCLA at first. I was super lucky in the sense that I have a cousin who's about a year older than me who had at least 1 year of being there at UCLA to come and say like, hey, you know, these are the classes that you can take. It's okay if you don't take all your prereqs, all your freshman year. You can go talk to professors.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so I think the most intimidating thing was just really realizing that my high school didn't prepare me as much as I would like. Um, like my high school, at least in my city, has this reputation of just being really bad. Yeah, having been there, like a lot of people before I went to that high school, they would tell me like, yeah, you're not gonna end up going to college. You're probably just gonna end up like having nothing in life. And that upset me. And I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean
Yeah,
I'm going to have nothing in life? I want to go to college. I'm going to prove you wrong and I'm going to go.
yeah,
Um,
you
so
did, you did.
I did.
So
I'm like,
kudos
3 years,
to you.
I'm like,
Kudos to you.
yeah. And yeah, like that was really a motivator to push myself throughout high school. But then coming to UCLA, I realized like really, I mean, my teachers are great. They really cared, but they just weren't given enough help in order to really teach us things. Like even the amount of resources, like I didn't have AP Econ as like a lot of other people who were economics majors. I didn't know anything about econ. Like literally, the only thing I knew was one trimester of economics, which wasn't really economics. They were just trying to teach us how to budget, which literally is not what you learn in UCLA economics. And then seeing that a lot of people, uh, their parents, they they were like accountants. That was something that they did, and my parents, my mom doesn't work, and my dad has worked in the same company packaging nuts and bolts for about almost 18 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like anything about higher education, my mom, she grew up here in LA after she immigrated from Guatemala at the age of 10. So she came here, went to middle school, went to high school, but just did high school, didn't have parents that supported her in higher education, so that was it. My dad came to the States when he was 18, but the highest level of education he had was like barely even middle school. He didn't finish middle
Mhm.
school. So really all he knew was hard work. And for me, that's more than enough. I think my dad is the most intelligent person I can ever meet.
Yeah, of course.
He deserves like to be here in my spot. Like I see my dad and I'm just blown away of like how intrigued he is by learning more things. But yeah, really seeing like my dad does that. My dad couldn't give me any advice. My parents couldn't give me any advice on how to apply to university, on how to navigate that. But yeah, that was something that you can definitely notice that there are people who just have different life experiences, who had parents who were able to go to college, who have like PhD in like mathematics, and this is something that like calculus was something that you got caught on pretty quick because it was in your genes. And like for me, it's like, oh my god, calculus, like how can I do this? Yeah, and I think also like it was really nice to see that there was a lot of Latinx folks. Yeah, because then there was people who had the same experience, and then we would study together. So there was a sense of community in that way. But it was very like small. It didn't feel as if like the whole major was coming in together, because you had those people who were like trying to in a way sabotage you, because economics is such a biz econ, and econ itself was like such a competitive major that like there were some people who didn't want to share their notes with you because they're like, oh, this is my studies stuff,
Yeah.
like why do you need to see it? Yeah, and yeah, things came easier to other people than it came to me. So I really struggled in that. And it was a lot of like quantitative stuff. And yeah, like I could study as much, like it was heartbreaking to see that I would stay up all night
Yeah.
studying for a test and barely even pass. And then someone who didn't even bother studying, doing their homework, going to lecture, and they get the highest grade. And I'm just like, whoa, like what's am I doing something wrong? Like am I not smart enough? Am I like I know I have the work ethic. I That was given to me by like example of my parents.
Hmm.
But am I capable of doing that? And I think I really struggled with that. Kind of questioning my intelligence, and then having other people in their actions make me question it even more. And
Yeah.
at some point, yeah, like I think that one thing economics wasn't for me. It wasn't the path that I really wanted to go. Um, but yeah, it was a bit difficult, and I'm really glad I switched majors. And I think that was the scariest thing. Like I think once, at least for me, going into UCLA, I thought, okay, this is the major. I'm gonna graduate with this. Like, I really have no other time to switch to any other major, consider anything else, because this is set in stone. And I think getting over that barrier of like, it's okay to switch, it's okay to change your mind. Yeah, like I think that really is where my life changed pretty much, and
Hmm.
um, being able to navigate UCLA looked a little different after changing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I could totally see where you're coming from. However, like I want advice. I mean, this is for everyone else, but like for me, I've switched my major so many times. You know, like I came in as undeclared. Then I thought that I was gonna do biz econ, and then I thought I was gonna do engineering, and then I thought not that I wanted to do math of computation, and now I'm like in math AOS, which is atmospheric and oceanic sciences. Like, what one piece of advice would you give somebody out there that is trying to decide, like, should I follow my passion? Should I follow something I'm interested in, or should I follow something that's gonna get me a job like right after college? Like, what is your advice like on that?
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely, like I said initially, my experience is so different from other people. Um,
I mean, that's why you're here. You know, we're all different in our own way.
mine, my experience isn't like to just it's not meant to be overgeneralized, but yeah, like in that case, like I think switching majors is okay, and even life decisions, no matter how long you take to figure that out, um, it's okay. I think that that is one thing that I wish someone would have told me, like from the get go, that it's okay if you don't know what to do. It's okay if you take a little bit more time to figure it out. Um, because really, there is no perfect college experience. There, like, whether you finish in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 8 years, it's okay, because in the end, if it took you that long to figure it out, I think it's better that you ended up figuring it out as opposed to being really good at something and then realize way down like down in life that this is something that you didn't want to do. I think really seeking your passion, whatever that looks like, and growing from that. Again, it's really hard, especially if you're going into a major thinking, okay, I need to make money.
Yeah,
um, and
yeah.
that's something that I think about too. And I think, at least with being first gen and then having parents who give their all and you want to support them, you want to make enough to, they don't have to work anymore. They don't have to, worry about where their next meal is going to come from. Like, you want to be that for them. And I think that's something that a lot of first gen students, and me included, think. And I still think that. And I still, like, work with public policy a lot. If you look at it, at least in the local government that I want to work in, they don't earn a lot. Not enough for me to pay my parents, like, give them everything that I think that they deserve, which is the whole world and even more. But I think that in what I'm doing, I know that whatever I do, I am making them proud, and not just me communicating that with my parents. But again, that's something different that not a lot of people have. Not a lot of people have that communication with their parents, or being able to say, like, I really don't want to study. I want to do public policy. And literally, when I just recently made this decision of potentially going for a master's in social welfare. So potentially
Wow.
being a social worker, which is a big thing because grad school is expensive. And like, the first thing that my parents asked me, do they make a lot of money?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a definite, like, that's a valid question. Because it's that sense of, like, we need financial security. And I think for me, going into social welfare, I mean, it's not like I'm going to be a billionaire. That's not what. But really, the reasons why I do it, and kind of expressing that to my parents, and it may not mean that I have my own, like, property, or I own stock or whatever that, but it does mean that whatever I do earn, the first person that I'm going to give it to is my parents. And really, like, everything that I do, even the littlest thing that I make, everything that I'm going to do, like, it's going to be towards my parents. And if that means that I have to work my butt off, work 2 jobs or whatever, and that means that I have to do that, so be it. Because that's nothing for my parents. My parents do that, like, you know, that
Yeah.
whole session, like, they sleep for like 2 hours. They, like, as children, they did so many things. And yeah, like, my dad works 12-hour shifts daily, and literally he's just being taken advantage of at work. And I don't want my dad to do that anymore. Like, I want to be able to earn a job where I could, like, have a job where I could, provide for him. But recently I figured out, like, if I don't get a master's, then I might not have that job. Yeah, so it's going back to the original question because I'm digressing. Um,
No, it's okay. You're good. You're good.
yeah, going back to the original question, I definitely think a lot of people are afraid to choose switch majors, and I think it is kind of stigmatized in how long you're supposed to be in college. And I think, like, the set years is like 4, but
Yeah.
I I've talked to TAs who say that, or even PhD students, that they said, I've taken 10 years to finish something I should have finished in like 3, and life comes up. And I think that's one thing, like, an advice that I would give to people, to incoming students, and even, like, I guess, since you said you wanted the advice, that it's okay to switch. It's okay to not know what you want to do and, like, the end goal. I think focusing on the now and focusing on really what you enjoy, because if we enjoy something, we're going to work so hard to, and it's going to feel like nothing, because it's something that, like, I don't care putting, 12 hours in a day doing something that I really love and I'm really passionate about.
That's true.
And I think that, like, if we have that motivation, that, that drive, that we'll do anything that we can to make sure that we achieve that goal. And if it's, like, I thought that economics was something that I was like super passionate about. I went to office hours. I talked to professors.
Mhm.
Like I literally myself look super dumb in front of her because I'm sorry, I do not understand this. Like I don't know what this is. But I think it took struggling, and it really took breaking down to realize like, okay, this is not what I want to do. I thought this is what I wanted to do for so long,
Mhm.
and this isn't what I want to do. And yeah, like right now I say I want to be a social worker. Tomorrow, who knows? I might have another mental breakdown and then tell you like, hey, I actually want to be a politician, an elected official, or I want to be a teacher, or I want to go to med school for some reason. I don't think I would want to go to med school, but you know, um, yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's I think what everything of what you told me in one sentence, you're telling me that just do something that makes you happy because that's gonna increase the chances of you being more successful. Because you said that like when in econ you were struggling, even though you were trying so hard, but now it's much easier and you feel like you have a sense of community, right? Is that
Yeah,
is that like summing it up?
like I had community in econ with like the couple friends that I made, because we were all in the same boat, being first gen, being Latinx, and really like not having parents that or even schools that prepped you for that. People had AP Econ, they were like super good at calculus, and then for me, I was like the first person in my high school to take calculus BC, which and calculus AB and BC, which is like the equivalent of Math 31A and Math 31B
Hmm.
at UCLA, and then I go take it again, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know this. I took this in high school, and I don't know this.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I think definitely studying what you like would help, and it really makes everything worth it. I think if you study something that you don't like and that you're not passionate about, you could be good at it, but and you can get a degree in it. But a lot of people, down the line, they realize that that's not what they want to do, and then that's why some people have drastic career changes, which is okay too. They eventually figured out what they wanted to do. I know like a lot of people who thought being a lawyer was something that they wanted to do, and they went to law school, got the degree, and then they wake up one day and like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think it's okay. And I think that you can wake up one morning and say, I don't want to study this anymore. I want to study something else. And then try that out. And it's okay if you wake up another morning and say, like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something else. And until you find that thing, like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Hmm.
Because I think that I believe that everyone has a purpose, and that really we are where we're supposed to be now. And it makes the future have endless possibilities, and I see it as something exciting.
Hmm.
Um, because who knows? A week from now, I could get an opportunity that I didn't think last week that I would have. I guess that's like me being very optimistic. Um, and yeah, that's just after seeing that it's better to try to see the positive things, but also being realistic. When I see that things aren't being super well right now, then it's okay that it's not going super hot, or that I didn't do super well in a class, but the next one, I'm gonna give it all. And if I gave it my all, then I literally have nothing else to say. Like if giving it my all got me a C,
Yes.
imagine if I didn't give it my all. And I know I gave everything. And if I gave everything, that was a well deserved grade. Even if it was a C, and to someone else's eyes, like, oh, you barely passed. But for me, that's like I worked hard. I gave no excuse. I stayed up. I went to office hours. I talked to my professors, and if I still did that, you know, I earned that, and that is worth more than an easy A, I think. But
That's no, that's true. I mean, those are usually like some of the things that I tell myself sometimes too, because like obviously when I don't know if this also relates to like your story, but when I came, I was like top 10 in my class, and I was used to getting A's and B's. But when you get to UCLA, it's a bit harder because you're like, holy smokes, I'm with all these other people that also got A's and B's.
Yeah.
And people are afraid to get C's nowadays. That they like they. I think that it all depends on how you define success, right? Like if you define success, a lot of people define it as like, if I get an A, I'm gonna be happy. If I get this, I'm gonna be happy. But in the end of it all, like it all comes down to like how much that you put into it, because ultimately you don't know, like, there's a lot of the things that we can't control. Like we can't control how the professor's gonna grade, we can't control how everybody else is gonna perform, but the only thing that you can definitely control is like how much you put in and how much you're you're trying. As long as you're trying, that's ultimately what matters. But yeah, thank you for sharing all those things. I mean, I think you made some really great points. And I realized that the way you think is kind of like how I think. We think very similar.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna like going back to your remark. I mean, there is that saying at UCLA: C's get degrees, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
And honestly, like grades don't define you, and I think that was something that a lot of people take time to unlearn. Because I mean, in high school, you're like, you need to get those A's, you need those extracurriculars, and I'm not saying that you don't need extracurriculars or you don't need grades, but really, it's not about that. It's about like really just your personal brand, making yourself known. I mean, like one of the first memories I have of you is like admin, not like admin weekend, I think, and
Raza weekend.
that's that weekend. And literally, they're like, okay, if anyone wants to give a shout out in anything, and you're giving a shout out on your YouTube channel. Like,
Yeah.
first memory that I have of you, even though you didn't know me, I knew you. And yeah, like, and here you are, you know, creating this channel in class,
Trying. Trying
and it's
stuff.
still something, it's still something. You're taking whatever you learn and giving back. And I think that is better than anything else. Like than a piece of paper that says like, oh, you got an A. That it's really just like the heart that you're putting into it. And I think that's really great, whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you. I've never heard that from from anybody. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess yeah, that's a great point to make. That yeah, it's really about like growing, how much you grow over the years, and even though grades are a part of you, and they might define you in some way, they shouldn't define how you live and how happy you are. Because ultimately, is the skills you learn, the experiences you have, and what you learn from everything, right? Like if you get a C, it's like, are you gonna let yourself be like how you said you had like a breakdown, right? And it could have gone like so many ways. You could have like been like, I'm gonna drop out, or I'm gonna switch majors again, or I'm gonna like not do this anymore, but you decided to like bounce back up. There's this saying that says like, oh, fall 9 times, get back up 10. And I think that applies to life at UCLA. Like there's gonna be so many things that you're gonna go through, and everything, but ultimately it comes down to like how bad do you wanna like move forward, how like, because that's the only thing you can really do, because nobody's gonna know like that you're struggling if you don't say anything about it. Like you see all these people walking around and you see them all smiling, but you don't know like the real story. We don't know like, oh, they went through depression, or stuff like that. So really just to be outspoken
Yeah.
on that.
No, yeah, for sure. And I think even going through any type of, I guess you can call it a trial or just like a bump in life, I think even that is kind of for our own good, which is a very interesting way to look at it. But thinking of it as like you're being broken down, right? But then, hopefully with the proper community and even just being able to realize like, hey, I'm at a spot that like I don't know what to do anymore, and reaching out, like slowly you're being built up, like back up again, and stronger than ever. And it's okay if you fall back down, because then there's still that building up. And like, can you say that the person that you were initially coming to UCLA is the same person that you are now? Like, would you be able to say that?
No, I'm not the same person. I mean, I've definitely changed. I think there's certain aspects that haven't changed, like my creative side and like me trying to communicate with other people. But in terms of like work ethic, I work way harder now than I'm at UCLA.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. I mean, what about you? Like, are you the same person that
Oh,
came in like a couple years ago?
no, no. I like again, like what you mentioned earlier, that whole being the top student at like your high school, and I had that reputation of like, oh, she's like super smart, she's super studious, and that got to my head.
Yes,
And then I come here and then I realize not studious, I'm not, as smart as I thought I was. I mean, not to say that, I don't understand things, but it took me a bit more than, say other people who had, a bit more preparation than I did. Yeah, so like my study habits are completely different. My like even just the way I carry myself is a much different. Like, but initially when I came into college, I was thinking like, okay, I am gonna cut everyone off. I thought even of like cutting my own parents off. Like, okay, I
oh my god.
move away from home. I want to start my new like my own life. I'm an adult now, and then I literally only live 30 minutes away from UCLA,
Mhm.
and like the first week, even just being in FSP, I miss my family. And then I realized like, oh, I thought, my parents, they were always on my case and like, they didn't let me grow. And then being in college actually made me appreciate my parents a lot more, everything that they did, everything that like I took for granted as a kid. And that changed. My parents, like our relationship between my parents and I changed. And then um even the way that I have friendships. Like really seeing like, okay, there are some people who really care and want to be my friend, and then there are other people who just want to, use you for a grade, and kind of
That's true.
learning to like, okay, do I consider that person my friend or do I not? And like I get it. Some people like you make buddies in a class and then, you work together and you might not talk to each other after that class, or you might, make a lifelong friend. But I think being open to that possibility, because I think I was very like, oh, I any person that I meet, they're probably like super fake and they're gonna stop talking to me for like in the next month or so. And I think coming here, being able to meet people who have same experiences, but they vary in different ways or have completely different experiences from me,
Yeah.
and being able to learn from them. I definitely do believe in learning from other people's experiences.
Mhm.
I think that's why this is so important. Yeah, and like my roommates, both my roommates, and I think they're amazing, and they've helped me grow a lot. And not a lot of people have that, Not a lot of people have roommates who want to help them grow, and like we help one another. Some people have horrible roommate experiences or live with different people every year or commute, because commuting is also a different experience.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
commute now. Well, I commuted last quarter, so it is.
Oh, hey, you save yourself some gas. I think with all this, you save yourself some gas.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, like even commuting, like that's something like it looks a bit different, but I mean, still, you grow, and you're not going to be the same person
Hmm.
that you were in high school, and even after graduating, years from now, I hope we're not the same people, because like we're growing and we're learning, we're adapting, we're maturing. And yeah, I think that's one thing that is a positive in all this. Like coming into UCLA, you're going to change, and let's hope that that changes for the better, and that you are able to learn things that you can then, carry and then give to other people. Like, hey, learn from my experience. Don't do this. Um, don't think that you have to buy the most expensive meal plan. You can survive off of like
That's true. I was on 11R and
you're
I lived there, so
you can do a webinar. It's gonna be a bit difficult, but like you can
Oh, it's very difficult.
Can survive, And don't think that you always have to buy all the textbooks that they assign. Like literally last quarter, I bought no textbooks, like nothing. Even though they were required, I didn't buy any textbook because I was like, I'm not gonna spend that money, and I passed my classes. I got two A's and one B. And that was me. I struggled a bit because I didn't buy it, but like if you don't have to make all these purchases. I think something that's also intimidating is like finances.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like thinking that okay, it's not doable. There are other people who struggle a lot more, and there is help. And I think really what I come to appreciate also about UCLA is just like the amount of resources that are there, and really how we help one another. Like the fundraisers, like anytime I buy from a fundraiser, it's usually because I know someone,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, or if they, or vice versa. If I seem like, hey, like if like hermanas is selling tortas, or even our one friend who was struggling at home and decided to sell, tortas to help her mom. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah, of course I'm gonna help you. Like of course I'm gonna buy tortas. I'm gonna tell other people to buy tortas from you. And I think a lot of that has to do with really that network you tend to build, and because a lot of it, I think a lot of it has to do with being Latinx, but even just being low income, being first gen, and with undocumented community, that community being built and being allies in that community,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I think like seeing everything that like I stand for, and then getting involved in that, and I get to know other people, and then they get to know me. And if I see something, I'm like, hey, like, let me help you out in this way. Or they see something like, hey, I saw this and I thought of you. And I was like, oh, thanks. And then I apply, and if I get in, great. If I don't, hey, that was something someone was thinking about me,
Yes. Yeah.
and that like we look out for each other, and that's something that you're not going to have professors. And if you do, that's great. But you're not going to have professors who are going to be like, hey, I thought of you because we had this one conversation about something that you liked, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something you get. But if you have that with someone like we can talk about just like even my position as an intern for my council member, and then knowing you being great at photography, like that connection there. Like the first person I thought was you, because like I know you're creative, and
That's good.
like that that is my first inclination, because it's like you're my friend, obviously, and
I don't
if
know.
you didn't,
No, just kidding. No, I'm kidding.
friend, if you didn't know that, and I'm saying that respectfully, yeah, and that's like the first inclination that I have to think of other people who I know are qualified, and I know that deserve an opportunity, and whom, you know, I've had that done to me, where people are looking through a certain email and they see something that's related to policy, even though they're like pre-med, and they're like, hey, you should apply for that. And then I apply, maybe I get it, maybe I don't. But I think it's the thought that counts. And I think we're here to help each other. And I think that being that person to help another person, it's gonna come back. Like someone else is gonna do that for you, and it feels nice, that you're able to give an opportunity and someone gives an opportunity to you, and like giving back pretty much. Like you give what you get, what you give, pretty much.
Hmm. What goes around comes around. That's
Yeah, that's a better saying.
it. Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. Well, I think we had a really you made some really really good points. I mean, I can't wait for everybody to hear what you had to say, and I also can't wait what you're gonna continue to do for our community. You seem so involved in our community, and you want to do a change. So I hope to have this conversation with you in a couple of years again when you have your professional life, and I'll be like, you know what? How's it going now? How's it different?
You might become a social worker.
When you become a social worker, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I might be pre-med by the time we talk
Yeah,
again.
you might be a doctor when I see you next time, or I don't know.
Who knows?
Um, All right, so wrapping that up, where can people find you if they have any questions? Do you want to drop your email? Do you want to drop like your social media? So people, if anybody wants to ask questions to you, where can they find you?
Yeah. Well, you can follow me on Instagram, and you can add. I guess I'm old school, and I have Facebook, which
Oh, I don't have Facebook. I mean, I have it, but damn. Okay.
I have Facebook, but I mean a lot of that has to do with like family back in Mexico. That's the way we communicate. But there's also WhatsApp if WhatsApp is something that you're comfortable with. Yeah, but find me on Facebook with my name, Adah Adah Perez, Perez, and then my Instagram handle. Well, I think you could edit that in. I don't want
Okay.
to.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Well, thank you to Adah because she shared with us everything she's been through. I really learned a lot. I didn't know a lot of these things from you, like I said. So this is a learning experience for me. And to everybody that is watching, thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know how I can improve these. Initially, I said it was gonna be 30 minutes. It's like 45 minutes, so we went over time. And let me know what other majors y'all like to see. Adah, is there anything else you wanna say?
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. And if you become a Bruin, hit us up. And if you don't and you just want college advice, hit us up. Or you just want friends, hit us up.